So, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Renata Codello, the General Secretary of the Cini Foundation. It's a pleasure for us to have Andrea Nicolai and Dottoressa De Rosa, but all you, it's very important, the meeting of today. So it's an honor for us to host the meeting of STARTS. That is one of our principal interest, the relations, the contamination about science, arts, technology. So, like you know, in this moment, a lot of people speak about this, but only a few people reasoning about this theme. So, today, you, professionals and innovators, have been called to discuss and lay the groundwork for creating singular synergies between science, technology, and arts, and at the same time to bring the approach that have probably successful at the European level to the regional territory as well. Science, technology, and arts are the driving force behind our digitalization center archive, that is the space that you are. And in archive, the traditional enchantment of cultural heritage is combined with the new technologies, aiming at the dissemination of our research, experiments, and above all the result. This occasion gives me the opportunity to emphasize the importance in the creating, the new creating, and faithful collaboration to stimulate the exchange of ideas and to create a network capable of facing real-world challenges. I see before that is simple for a site speak about this, and more complicated to realize a project that give an effective result in this field. So it's important for us that you stay in San Giorgio Isle with the inspiration of this place. Here is even your home if you stay very well, and is only the first of the next step that we want to give concrete realization in the next time. So a good work for all, and thank you for your presence. Thank you.
Professor Codello. Thank you all. Good morning. I'm Simona De Rosa from T6, partner of the STARTS Prize. I really want to thank you, Professor Codello, for giving us the opportunity to be here today. It's stunning. We are surrounded by beauty. We are surrounded by history as well. And thank you for your words. You talk about driving forces and real-world challenges, and this is really timely and also at the point of our discussion in the project and with the STARTS framework overall. I thank you all of you who arrived here to have this discussion face-to-face finally after years of pandemic, and also the others that are following us online. it's true, we are living very hard times. So wars, pandemics, and also global warming are just some of the topics that are creating us the understanding of how complex and how multiple crises are affecting our world, our societies, our economies. And it's also clear now to most of us that to find out a solution to complex issues and multiple crises, we cannot rely on just simple solution or silo-based solution. We need complex response to that. And to arrive there, we need to create an environment which is really able to talk, to discuss, to have together different fields, different disciplines, different competencies, and arrive together to a final understanding of how can new solutions, new processes can help us in dive into these complexities. And the STARTS framework, we have to admit, if we look back at the last 10 years, which is supported by the European Commission, is really one of the most innovative framework that try to push and to put on the table the needs for this integrated discussion. And the very unique sense of the STARTS is that we are focusing on science, technology, and the arts. And looking back at how the project have been funded over the years, because in STARTS Prize we are also looking at assessing and mapping a bit which are the impacts of the initiatives funded. There is a specific needs from the artists, from the community, to work towards social impact. I mean, the projects are not just focus on delivering new solutions. They are really trying to address complex issues having an impact on society, wherever if we want to talk about increasing awareness on specific topics, if we want to create new processes for the issues that the projects are addressing. So the project funded and supported by STARTS really needs to be in the spotlight now as an example of what can be achieved. But on the other hand, we cannot also deny that there are some issues, because it's not always easy to discuss from different fields of expertise and combining different knowledge. So this is also why also the discussion on how relevant the framework and the support to the framework, we cannot forget this discussion. And we need to keep it open together with the European policymakers who are supporting the framework, but also trying to reflect on this with regional approach, with national policymakers, in order to combine not only the horizontal level of bridging different fields of expertise and different competencies, but also the different levels of policies. This is why we really wanted to have this discussion today that we called Connecting Dots, to bring the community of the stakeholders that are enriching the discussion with their projects, with your initiatives, together with exponents and representatives of institutions and policymakers who are also trying and supporting and working on the topic. The discussion today intends to be quite open, so we will start with a keynote from Dr. Pau Alsina, who will touch more the epistemological issues of the intersection among art, science, and tech, and then he will also discuss about HACTE Barcelona, which is a specific and very good example of how the collaboration on the ground for a hub that works on science, art, and tech. So it's very timely for us. And then we will have a discussion with the Regional STARTS Center, and then an open discussion with someone or everyone in the room that wants to speak, that wants to make some points. It's really welcome to talk with us. And in the afternoon, after that, we will see 2 videos from 2 honorary mentions that have been supported by the STARTS Prize over the last 2 years. We will have a dedicated roundtable with the European Commission, who will be connected remotely, and then scholars and policymakers here in the room, in order to try to summarize what came out from the discussion from all over the day with all of you, and then passing it a bit to our next, the ones that should take care of the needs and the addressing issues that will emerge over our conversation. So, without any delay, I really want to welcome Pau Alsina to open this day. Pau is the co-director of HACTE, as I said, so the Hub for Art, Science and Tech in Barcelona. It's an institution funded by 11 Catalan institutions. He's also a lecturer and researcher in art and humanities studies at the Universitat Oberta de Catalunya. So Pau, thank you for accepting our invitation. I will give you the floor, and then we will see after for the comments and the QA. Thank you.
Okay, so, okay, you can see. So thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the invitation. Thanks a lot to the Fondazione, and thanks to all the community for being invited here. And it's an honor and a pleasure to be here in Venice, to be able to talk with all of you and reflect on some things that are really of important value for many of us. And we do think that it's a great opportunity to talk and to exchange some ideas between all of us. So thank you for the invitation. I'm so glad to be here. No? So what they asked me to do is to reflect on what we have learned from different projects that have been developing last decades. And through this nice project, HACTE, which is a hub of art, science, and technology in the context of Barcelona, within the framework of Catalonia and Spain, and how this can contribute to bring some ideas, some insights, and some learnings that could be shareable through all the community of STARTS, community of the STARTS family. So let me. Those are all the panels of HACTE. Let me explain a little bit. Okay. It all started many years ago, 2005, more or less, when. In 1999, the City Council, the Barcelona, they made the first strategic cultural plan. It was based more on trying to put together all the different sectors from all the different industries, theater, dance, visual arts, that were, disaggregated between all of those different parts, and to, let's say, legitimize their contributions to society and to the city. So remember, 1999 was the moment where everybody was talking about creative industries, and Florida, regional Florida was being the one that taking the flag of what was going on there. So the way that they used to legitimize is through the economic impact. I mean, the sectors were quite relevant at that moment with the theaters and media industries and everything, and the rising digital creativity industries. So at that moment, it was quite reasonable to talk about the economic impact of those contributions to culture, of culture to society. And it was a great moment because at that time, remember 2000, everybody was talking about the digital hype. Where it was the moment of the startups. Everybody was, putting a lot of energy into that and not seeing the dark side of it, let's say. And it was a great moment. So we did the first report. I did the first report of comparative analysis of those different centers through all the world that were dealing with digital technologies in the context of creative areas. So that report created like a framework and also a mindset of what could be done, what should be done, no? And how we could, as a city, we could connect all those different, connect all those different dots of all those different aspects that they were separated within one each other, no? So we created the program of the Barcelona factories, which right now there are 11 factories through all the city. some devoted to it was a city council that pushed that really further and established like a common ground for all those different factories, scenics, theater factories. We use the term factories, as you can imagine, which is quite connected with these ideas of sectors and the industries behind that. No? But some of them are not really factories at all. They don't resemble that. They use the word factories because they were based in different, in old factories, many of them textile factories, most of them, but other type of factories were industrial context were really in the context of within the city of Barcelona. No? Right now, they are not that. It does not happen anymore. So those different factories were spread through that. And you can see here this program, the Barcelona Arts Factories, and the report, the second cultural strategic plan that we did in 2005, 2006. No? That was a move forward towards this idea of the economic impact of culture as the way to legitimize and to structure and to put money into culture for the reasons why that makes sense. No? It was a great contribution. It was a great way of connecting with the economic aspects of the city and the whole city itself, but it was not enough. I mean, because at the end, what happened is that everybody was measured through these indicators of the economic impact. No? So those sectors that were really much into economic impact, like, for example, video games, they could have more value than the others, that visual arts or maybe dance, that it doesn't have that much economy surrounding. Eh? So we moved forward from 1999 to 2006, 2005, 2006, to move to center in this idea of creativity of the citizens, no? And social implication, no? Social participation. That was a really interesting move because then we start bridging those different sectors within their departments on those different scenarios and to push forward that connection between all of them. No? So here you can see some of these factories. These are 6 of them, but there are 11, like visual arts production center, like the Rosa, which is more based on poetry and textual art, Fabra Cots, which is multidisciplinary, La Caldera, which is based on maybe in dance, Ateneu Popular Nou Barris, which is based on circus, no? Circus, and Tantana in theater. No? So there are 11 of them, and then each one of them, they have their own life, their own rules. And another thing that we move forward from this idea of having a common ground of indicators, economic indicators for all of them, to a specific indicators and measurements for each one of them, putting into value what they contribute to their community and to their local neighborhood, and also with the international community they are connected. Some of them you may already know and maybe you have work with them. No? So it was very interesting because we put into value what the governance that was inside each one of those centers and also the contributions that they made to the local neighborhood and their communities. And we learned that it was not possible to create an universal indicator that could be measurable for all of them because they have specific and very local and very situated knowledge and values that would need to put into account that what their contribution is to society and those things. So that was a great move over there. No? So from that, at the same time, I also work in a couple of projects that they were not based in Barcelona, but they were based as a state project. This Spanish Foundation of Science and Technology, which is a Spanish foundation that keeps pushing forward science and technology in society and within the context of the research centers and research universities through all the Spain. No? And what they do, they are really much into policies. They are really informing those different ministers and those different government agencies to connect, to push forward things that need to be done in order to keep pushing that connection. And in 2005, sorry, 2006, at the same moment I was doing I was involved in the strategic cultural plan of Barcelona. Then we moved forward to this idea of having a white book on the interrelationship between art, science, and technology in Spain. And it was great because what we had to do, we do is to put into account what was being done in Spain through all the last decades. And also comparing it and being inspireful with other projects throughout the world that were really into that. No? So that was great because it was an occasion to reflect on those different aspects of the education part of it, the research part of it, the production part of it, the dissemination part of it, and even the conservation that was part of an archive, of course, which is completely necessary. What we'll learn is that in the case of Spain, there's quite an ecosystem that is not articulated, but it's full of agents through all the Spanish community. Some of them are institutions, but many of them are not institutional at all. Are collectives, are groups of people doing things, are very non-governmental things. Some of them are really underground, but they do have a lot of value. And they put into a lot of value into what they do. So it's like a quite diverse ecosystem that we needed to put into account. That's the first thing, you know. And they also, we learned that they were kind of, even though many of them were working on art, science, and technology intersections, some of them, they didn't share the same values, and it's because the economical and the societal concept were quite different. It's quite different, the economics of a university than an art production center, than a cultural center, than a collective that moves behind the industry, or like a governmental institution. They are quite different. So this is the basis where you can start talk with different agents, no? And also the structures that are behind that. I mean, the structure, the legal structure and the economic structure, that the means of production of that, it's quite different. So it's something to take into account, because you can talk about artistic research within the context of a university or a research center, or within the context of a production center. It's completely different. The means that they have are completely different. The way they understand the tempo itself and the way they can think about the project is quite different. No? So that's something to take into account. That book was really influential because then it structured new projects within the context of Spain that were really fruitful for many years and established some connections between all. And also it helped to legitimize and to structure and to see the value that could be put it into the context of society, because it was a political document that worked for quite a while. Then, in 2023, so this year, we did another version of it. Because what we learned from that process in 2006, many things changed. No? And we, as a matter of fact, the second one, 2023, we put it another word: society, art, science, technology, and society. This is not irrelevant. I mean, this makes a lot of sense. No? This society means that. So. Because through that process, as Simona said, we learn how those contributions that connect art, science, technology, and design also are also working together for those challenges that society faces, no? And to put into value what they can bring to society through it's key in order to understand what all the processes that are behind all those different connections. That's something quite interesting. So in that book, in 2023, what we move forward from this idea of giving more space and more understanding to the underground projects that were not that as much explained in the first book, but also not the other ones that are more into dissemination, for example, and that they can have a lot of impact, like social impact, for example. They have a lot of power to be able to reach wider audiences. That we put into value. That we also put into value the industries that are not connected directly to art science, but they can bring some value into that. No? And also we reflect a lot about the the methodologies that have been used and the epistemology that is behind that, no? And also that connecting it to the structural aspects of those institutions or collectives. For example, what I was telling you about this legal and economic status of the whole thing, no? Because they're all connected. You can talk about, okay, it's so easy to understand art and science, whatever. We can talk about the epistemological, methodological and epistemological challenges, but there are some restrictions that depends on who can access to research center, how it can be accessed, for how many time, which production, which types of economic background do they need to do what they do, and the same for the art production center. They have another completely different aspect that needs to be done. So we reflected on that. We put it some ideas, some reflections that were shared to our community to try to push forward that into society. That was a long process, because we had to talk with all those different scientific and technological research centers of Spain, more than, well, not all, of course, but many of them. Like maybe I think we talked about, I think it was 25, something more than that, which is, some of them are really known, like the Astronomy Observatory of Stede, which is in the Canary Islands, for example. They're doing really great stuff there. And some of them are really small, but really relevant in the way they approach this process of art and science. No? So we learn what they do, all those different communities need, because there are different types of community: the artists, the researchers, the researchers from science and technology, the educators, the curators, and the people from the cultural management area, and the citizens themselves, but also the governments and also the industry. So each one of them, they do. Maybe they might be interested in the same scenario of art, science, and technology and society connections, but they came from different places, and they do have different objectives, and somehow then they need to put it into account. So they will implement that. So, for example, those are two centers: Laboral Center of Arts and Science, that is quite well known, that established in 2007, 2008, that, it was, some of them were part of that process that was happening in Spain, in the context of with the policies being implemented there. No? Anetopia, which is more focused on citizenship or connection with citizenship, in Zaragoza. This is the first one. Laboral is in Gijón. The second one is in Zaragoza. Okay, so you can see. Huh? So here you can see. Okay, so now we started to think about what's going on in those places. How we can extract the value that has been created, and you can see this is a drawing that is not new. I mean, it was made in other reports previously, but I think it still works. I mean, this connection between art, science, design, and technology within the context of culture and society. Okay, so it makes sense. So the thing is that we wanted to do is to create all those spaces together. I mean, to connect all those spaces within the framework of this culture and society. So to help culture and society to create, to work for those challenges that society have. No? So this is not quite. I mean, you can say, okay, yes, we'll see, but this is not easy to do, because each one of them, they have different communities, different institutions, different objectives, different ways of talking, even dressing. So you can see that there are some kind of difference, but putting them together, it's have highly value. I mean, that doesn't mean that we don't need to say that everything is the same. We just have to be that there's a complex scenario that we need to face it and to put it into account and put them one next to each other in order to extract those processes that are adding value through all the hybrid scenario that has been created. No? So that's that's when we started to reflect on what's in the context of Barcelona and the city and Catalonia. No? So we realized that in Barcelona, for example, we do have a large number of diverse agents working separately. It's one of them. You can. I'm sure that you know a lot of them, but they do work separately because they are quite big. I mean, it's an ecosystem that it's quite large. Barcelona, it's a city that it's open and really willing to connect with many people. But it's true that, and it's also because it's maybe the mindset of the Catalan people just to do things on your own, and then you don't wait for someone to do it for you, no? So you just go ahead, and then there's a lot of projects. No, that's great, no. So those are different projects between art, design, science, technology, and society, as a matter of fact, no. But there is a need we reflected that. Because if you have different agents and diverse, that doesn't make an ecosystem. An ecosystem is just connecting the dots. It's where you connect those different agents and they put them working together, and when they start doing things, it's like an ecosystem. It's not, because if not, it's just a catalog. You can have a catalog, that's great, but an ecosystem is different than a catalog. And a catalog means that you need to connect all those different dots with all those challenges that are there, not just methodological or epistemological. I mean, what do you understand for knowledge? What do you understand for research? How can you contribute to society? What's valuable from your contribution? But also the structures that are behind that, the economic and legal structures, because it's different an enterprise than an association, than a foundation, than a government institution. Each one, they have different bridges. So you need to create those bridges in between all those different aspects. And I think it's quite valuable to understanding those different layers, what it needs to be done take into account two things. No? But the good thing is that well, everybody was willing to do that because everybody's looking forward to this transformation of structural transformation in this hybrid scenario that we are facing, all of us, institutional challenges that we all face in order to respond to what is happening in the context of this hybridity of knowledge and processes being happening everywhere. No, so there is this need for that allows those agents to be interconnected within their different ecosystems. Each one, they have the ecosystem. I mean, if you are a university professor, I mean, you can live in your ecosystem without connecting with cultural aspects of that. If you are in a research center, you go your research conference, and then you move on that. If you're a cultural, so maybe, of course, you can also do your own, curating your thing with your exhibitions with cultural centers, and they're quite different. Some of them, they really connect one of each other, no? But they need to connect all those different agents to move forward and to create a scenario for those hybrid processes that are being held. This is what it's the object of what we are facing. No? So projects that connect them at the same time at an international level and generate productive synergies. I mean, that things that can be done together more than that each one of them separately. So this is an emergent property when you do something that it was not expected between all those different agents. So you can do something bigger, better, bigger, I don't know, bigger, but maybe better or different, let's say, to transform those different agents that are being held. And this process also transforms the structures inside them of them. So this is really challenging for all of the people, all the institutions involved. No? So another idea is to connect those different chains, different chains of the value chain, different aspects of the value chain, because it's something that is not quite easy. I mean, you go to the exhibition, you see the exhibition, but you don't see the production that is behind the exhibition, and you don't see the research that's being behind the exhibition, and you don't see the education that has been previously part of the whole ecosystem that is within the exhibition. Or you don't see the dissemination after the exhibition. transformation. I mean, the other thing. No? So there's a value in each phases of the value chain. When you put them all together, then you see the complementary aspects of those different agents within the same framework. This is really inspiring for all of them, because when you talk with each one of them, they do want to change. I mean, there's a cultural center that wants to be a research center because they do think that what they do, they also create knowledge and they want to be center. There's a production center that wants to be a research center because they do think that what they do is research by itself. I mean, it's not in academic terms, but research in an artistic approach to that. When you talk to universities, they do want to have a value in society and culture and everything, no? But everyone is stuck in their own structures and their own things, no? So having the ability to create those bridges between all those different agents and to enable that ongoing transformation, all the structures within the epistemological and methodological challenges of what's within the art, science, and technology area, I think is really inspiring and useful, more than the value of the productions themselves, because there's a whole process going on that it keeps on being nurturing that process of transformation. No? So let's say, so you can put together like a workshop. Atelier, no, that does things, no, like the laboratory, the research, the investigation that you can enable to reflect and to think on what you do. You do things, you reflect. Of course, you don't do things without reflecting. You don't reflect without things. But there are some accents within each one of them, no. And that adds some value. I mean, some places are more oriented to doing than thinking and researching, but of course, no. Okay, this is quite well. Okay, and also within that, connecting all those different agents that are involved into that. No? Okay, so that's another thing, no, to connect those. So you got the node, the research, and the atelier, the workshop, no, and then within that the hub, no. So if you put together all those different functions of spaces, you got research in research centers, production, laboratories, formation, education. This is a cliche because of course there are festivals that are also incubators, showrooms, education spaces, exhibition spaces, or laboratories. There are laboratories that they also are education spaces and also citizen spaces, and even incubators. And there are research centers that they do want to be citizen spaces and they also education spaces. So the whole scenario has evolved a lot since 2000 and from now on, because the complexity, we are being more able to face that complexity. And within the context of Barcelona, that's when they decided to create the HACTE, the Hub of Arts, Science and Technology. Okay, you can see here the government, the city council, the government of Catalonia, and some of the main agents that started this project. No, so from that moment, as a way of translating those aspects that we learned through all this ongoing process of reflecting on observing what was happening in context of art, science, and technology, and not just in the context of Barcelona, Catalonia, and Spain, but also at international level. What it is like, okay, let's build up a public-private partnership, because then you have the ability to to build bridges in different ways that brings together and interrelates art, science, technology, and society and stakeholders. The first one. So it works actively like as a facilitator between partners in the consortium and other organizations, but also as a facilitator with all those different government institutions, the regional, the Catalan, and the city, the regional, and the Spanish one. No? Because yes, it's something that we talk with so many of you, that different levels that you need to face in order to do something that it articulates an ecosystem, because you got different agents, diverse agents from different worlds, that different parts of the value chain, but they do share the same common objective, they're willing to do something together, but you need to articulate those different processes through programs, through processes, through also literature and reflection that is being shared for all those projects. So we consider this a legal entity 3 years ago, as a way to deal with that. No? Okay. And what we do is exploring and develop this intersection between art, science, and technology to boost and facilitate the digital and green transformation of European society and also Spanish society, to design those common responses to reimagine our coexistence in the information society. That's something that needs to be taken into account. We talk for a lot, for a long time, about network society, information society, but within those different years and challenges that we got, the digital and the green, then we're facing the need for these common responses, no, in connection with the new European Bauhaus for sure, and starts for sure, and contributed to the reindustrialization industrialization of the productive sector. That's another part of it that it has to be faced also. No? So we've got those different cross-cutting attributes from digital, environmental, open and inclusive, because it's an association. That means that it's open to anyone, and we're looking forward to connect all those different dots, being able to contribute to the objectives of the association. It faces those two big challenges as a way to foster and push forward the meaning of the whole project, and it has different dimensions. The knowledge dimension, the process of knowledge that has been in there, that is in between those different types of institutions, creating this hybrid space, that they have some results in terms of art production, but also some results in terms of knowledge production that are connected, and also some results in terms of scientific and technology production that can be connected with that, and also industrial production that can be connected with that. So we got the knowledge, the social, the economic, and the structural. The structurals in themselves, how they evolve through that. No, okay. And you can see these are the founding partners. There are 11 entities that carry out and promote and support the development of activities in the field of art, design, science, and technology. You can see some in the education area, research, preservation, production, creation. And you can see some of them, like, for example, 3 universities, UOC, that is also where I am a professor there. This is an online university, which is also connected through all the networking within the context of Catalan and in the world. No? UPC, which is more connected to engineering, architecture, science and technology. UPF, that's connected to humanities, communication, economics. And another one, and then research centers like the Photonic Science Center, this research focused in photonics, and the BIST, which is the Barcelona Institute of Science and Technology, that involves 7 Catalan research centers, the ones that are really more productive in terms, and also they have a greatest scientific and technological impact, like the institutes of biomedicine or nanoscience, no, for example. So that makes sense. Those are the cultural and artistic organizations. The New Art Foundation, which is one of the biggest collectors of electronic art in Europe, I guess. Sonar Festival, which is the pioneer cultural festival. They have a really wide and bigger audiences. EINA, which is a private institution of research and higher education, but also involved in the cultural community law. And Hangar, which is a production center. So you've got a art research and production center. And then you got the Fair, which is Vero Barcelona organizations in Europe in terms of volume and quality of its events. They have the mobile conference, the ISE conference, and many conferences that you may know in the context of Europe that are being held there in Barcelona, and the Tech Barcelona, which is an association that brings 1,200 startups in the context of the digital and technological sector as a places for incubator of projects. So yes, they offered us a building, yes, as it's used, but I think we are not in the moment of needing to fit a building to construct a building, because there are plenty of buildings in the context of Barcelona and plenty of projects being held in Barcelona. And right now what we are focusing more is in the context of those different different scenarios that are being there. No? You can see this is the one next to the fountains, which is, as a matter of fact, it was the Italian pavilion during the Universal Exhibition of Barcelona in 1929. That it's a really nice place. It's right in the middle of the Montjuic mountain, but it's really expensive, and you need a lot of money just to feed that, just to make it there. So we just focused more on doing our homework and on our duties as an association to connect all those different agents that are already being held in that. No? You can see some of the renderings that we had, and I mean, yes. But anyway, I think we would have made we would need a big restaurant to feed the whole economics aspect of the whole thing, and see something that right now is not into our set, but someday maybe it might be possible if it's needed, because I'm sure it's needed at this moment. No. Okay. So you got this ecosystem of diverse agents, no? That involves those different collectives, researchers, networks, and institutions. That's the strata. I mean, those are different, each one of them, and they do share the same willing of bringing together art, science, and technology and society. But you've got those different communities, the social, the artistic, the educational, the scientific, and technological. The value it's in bringing together all those different communities in this in-between space that is that, no? Because we can find value in those different relationships. When we see the art, design, science, technology, each one of them, they have different kinds of value. Why we just have to focus on the artistic side of it? Because there is another design value and technology and science value. And we need to, and thus, assuming that is not as easy as it seems, because you need to not just to extract value from that, but also to add value in each one of them. Scientists, they need to know why they are doing that, how they help them to do what they do. And technologists also, they need to understand, not just as part of dissemination of what they do, but also other values that are there, and we need to create the measurements and indicators that face that, and also that, because at a very informal level, we all know what's going on, but we do think that there is a lot of work that needs to be done to pushing forward that scenario that puts together all these agents and extracts and adds value to all those different communities that are being held there. No? So okay. I was talking about this local art, science, technology ecosystem connecting with the international, the value chain, with those different stakeholders, the interdisciplinarity and the intersectoral. That means more than just one, the educational sector, the research center, or the industrial sector, but in between, and also the dimension of national, European dimension, international. No? Okay, those are some. I think I might have to move forward, but because, okay, those are many of the projects, some of the projects that we have been dealing. In 2022, we organized ICA 2022 as a tool for creating the association itself. So we did what we did because we wanted to create a network and a collective association, and some projects that were dealing with that. Some like at the state level, like the Spanish Network of Art, Science and Technology, and some other at international level, like the Sonar plus D Festival, and some collaboration that we did with Ars Electronica, with the Garden in 2022, with a nice, lovely garden that we did in Ars Electronica in 2022. And also those different gardens that help us during the pandemic years to build up that community within all those agents that were working in the field, and they needed something to gather together. No? In 2023, we also contributed to a big digital exhibition, the Digital Impact exhibition, that wanted to put the digital art in the middle of in the context of society, and we did like a lot of activities with all the different partners to connecting those different pieces with the research that has been done, the activist side of it, and society's things that need to be done, and things, and also. That's when 2023, when we were part of the Starts in the City project, which is a great project that clearly aligns with the objectives of the association in many ways, as later will be explained, and the S+T+ARTS Festival. And those are 2024 projects that we are facing right now, and more to come, let's say. So let me explain. For example, in ICEA, we did like a lot of activities in 11 cities of Barcelona, and 11 cities in Catalonia, and some places in the public space as a tool for engaging with citizens and also with different cities and different communities. No, I mean, that was the ICEA 2022 possible image with a lot of partners, but you can see we created this ICEA conference, the ICEA Expo, with more than 85 pieces exhibited, an ICEA conference with that, and also the ICEA Territory City with partnership with artistic institutions, museums and archives, education and scientific within the whole network of Barcelona. And with ICEA conference with CCCB, a cultural center, MACBA Museum, Modern Art Museums and Canodrome, and ICEA exhibition with many places. No? Why we did that? Because the objective was not just creating an event. We are not. We don't want to create an event. We are not an event producer. What we do want to create is a network. We do want to create an association. We do want to create connection within all the dots that are there looking forward. So we put a lot of art in the process of the making, and also in what the relationship that has been established before, during, and after that. And the things. So that's why, otherwise, in terms of management, it's not reasonable, because you spend a lot of energies in going up and down and building stuff. No, you can see, for example, all those different projects, all the different partners. You can see like a list of those different partners and go on. I mean, more than 60 partners through all the regions. No, so it was because, and all of them, they had impact in those different local communities, and it was great because it created like those different connections. So this is a way of creating, because we were not interested at, okay, we try to connect with wider audiences. Yeah, it's true, and would have loved to have a deeper connection with all those big events that were the city was facing, but it was after 2 years of pandemic. It was a completely, it was successful just to do it in 2022, where some months ago, we didn't know what was going to happen. No? So you can see all those different places, and you can see some numbers. You see a lot of, we were not focusing more on audiences, but in community and communities, connecting those communities, connecting those institutions, connecting those different. So, but at the end, it was more like 100, so more than 1,000 activities through all the different scenarios of the different cities. So it was great. No? But we focus in another type of process. No? Okay, so I will move further because I will not have time. I will go further. So these are some of the projects that we have been doing. In 2022, we connected with the Sonar Festival in order to move from audiences to communities, move from partnership to collaborators, move from scenarios to networks, to create that common ground that we were trying to build up from scratch. And also in Ars Electronica 2022 with the exhibition that I was previously talking. No? And then we started the Spanish network of art, science, and technology with right now with 4 nodes in Catalonia, Euskadi, Madrid, and Valencia, which are the places where there's the most of the activity in the country. No, we did this gathering together with the same different types of institutions, universities, cultural centers, collectives, independent collectives, but also industries and politicians also involved in those different centers. Each one of them created their own agenda with the different reports that have been together. It's really interesting how you can see something that is quite similar. It has completely different. Okay, I have 5 minutes, so I will go straight ahead. No? And you can say, okay, yes, in Catalonia, Barcelona, right now it's the place where they have the stronger connection and a stronger community going together. But those are some of the partners that are are being connected. But this is just the starting point, and next year, 2024, it will be, we have like 7 nodes more in the context of the state, no? And as you can see the first meeting of ICEA 2022 and the public presentation 2023. And many other projects, more dissemination, because another thing is the alliance with the communication, the TV, national TV, and many other, the newspapers and everything, in order to explain and to be able, this is something that we learn a lot from other projects that were taking a lot of effort in order to explain better what is the value that's in behind that, no? And things, the exhibition that I was mentioning in the context of the Digital Impact Exhibition, and this is the program, the Roundtable residency, which is that we did together with Ars Electronica, so and the Institute of Physical Higher Energy Physics. Sorry, it was a way to open the doors to those centers that were not used to having artists in the context, and to see what's going on with them and how the value that's been created. You can see this Andy Gracie that was exhibited in Ars Electronica, and the program of Sonar+D that I told you that is moving from audiences to community and to create a new network through the implication and participation of the audience that is more than audience, it's just part of the whole thing with an open call and everything that was playing the station. And the Stars in the City that they are going to present later, this is another project that is going to be presented. It connects for sure with everything that we have been doing, and in the context of the regional center, and with those different agents that are involved, and also with the reflection that needs to be done in order to put into value what all the different parts of the process that has been done. No? And those are the winners that we are going to publicly announce soon. Those are 3 residencies that are gonna happen in the Photonic Science Center, and the Robotic Science Center, and the Virtual Reality Lab Center in UOC, UPC, and ICFO. Those 3 institutions that are part of the HACTE community. No? So you can see that. No? So what we're looking is to creating that ecosystem within that context of everything that has been said. No? So I guess that's I have to end right here, and I would love to just to reflect on those different projects, no? To interconnect our activities with the local ecosystems, to learn from those local experiences, to contribute and articulate and expand, and to contribute and increase the already existing knowledge and innovation initiatives. That's the way. No? So thank you very much. This is briefly explain what we're doing, no? And where we are reflecting. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pau. Any question from the audience for Dr. Pau Alsina? Yes, one over there. I don't know if there are people online, maybe. So better to speak it.
Thank you. What model of organization you used to ground on this hub? Because I seem to understand that this hub you work for started first in 2000, and then I saw on the screen that it started apparently in 2021 or 3 years earlier. But it's so well planned, conceived, directed from the slides that you showed us, that it seems to me that it had these all organization took a model on which to grow. I mean, something that was already. I'm talking about. I don't know. These kinds of institution. That's the reason of my question.
Yes, it's true. Well, it was incubated, and it was incubated for the first years in the context of the Open University of Catalonia, which is a government institution, a government university that it's an online university created by the government of Catalonia to bring knowledge to all the Catalan community. And it was created in 1994 when nobody thought that it could be possible to have an online online university through internet. And the whole university, it's structured like this, like as a network. It works deeply with the territory, but also with the government, but also with the industry. It has a particular way of being structured and conceived. And it's really successful in terms of the number of students that are facing, more than 25,000 students, which is quite big, but also in terms of how they have to deal with the whole structures. This was based, no? And so it's, let's say, a UOC DNA-based project. It was incubated for some time in the context of the UOC, the Open University of Catalonia, and then as an autonomous, I think, because it needs to be autonomous in order to have everybody on board. And this is something that it's also the diplomacy that is behind that you have to talk with all those different partners in different languages, different levels, because they have different objectives and different understanding of the whole process. No? So, I mean, for example, it's quite common that, for example, the art just go to science to extract what they want from that, but they need to put into account what they gain from that process of art-science collaboration. So you need to talk on those different levels. No? But the DNA is based on that networked university that was a long way established and had the support of the government in that process, yes.
One more question about the buildings that you showed at the beginning of your presentation. So that's the physical place where this hub is hosted now, or where you are planning. You as an organization are planning to put.
Yeah, we do have the offer of being there, but I think it's a tricky. It's a tricky thing, because what we have learned, and this in the context of Spain, that when you've got those big buildings, you lose your strength just for the building, for having the building done and being fit the building. It's not something that we do. I mean, we have to focus on the objective of the association itself, not the building itself.
I'm sorry, it's not clear. Can you elaborate? I mean, you don't have the money to maintain those buildings. Then that's your concern.
We don't want to put the money in those buildings.
Okay. Right
now, I think it's smart because we have plenty of buildings in Barcelona and plenty of collaboration. It doesn't make sense to add another building.
No, to tie yourself to a certain place. No, of course, but you have some places. I mean,
yes,
physical places.
We have some place, and when yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
How do you convince politically, decision makers that get the hold of the property of these buildings? How do you rationalize the outcome, the economic output that these initiatives have in order to, for example, get a free building?
Yeah, for sure. But the thing is that it's something really interesting, because if we are coherent with the first draw that we put, we need to talk not just with the cultural minister, but also the industry minister and also the science and technology minister, let's say. So we had to go and talk with each one of them and to explain the value that is being added within the context. That's something that needs different levels of communication and different indicators. That's something that I'm really much into, that, to have the measurements and indicators that being able to convince all those different players that are involved in the whole scenario that we are facing. No? So we had to do that with each one of them, of course. And the good thing is that, yes, because it's quite completely different when you talk with a cultural politicians, let's say, that normally they don't have a lot of budget and they have a lot of people asking for and a lot of pressure from lobbies from everywhere, that if you talk with the science and technology policymakers. So the outputs of that will come out just to, in terms of reconstructing and arranging the policies in the cultural area, but also in the research area. As a matter of fact, some of them are matching to that and willing to learn from that process, that why are being involved, being part of many of those projects, and they are, well, I mean, there are happening changes already in the policies, the research policies and cultural policies within the context of Barcelona, Catalan, and Spanish comments. So we are happy because this is working. I mean, we are being influential in that terms. I think it's good.
Thank you very much, Pau. Thank you for also mentioning at the beginning the fact that you working in 1999 about the economic value and how the economic aspect also somehow legitimize the creative and cultural industries. You worked on it several years ago. Unfortunately, I think this is still a crucial issue that should be discussed, and I hope in the afternoon we also touch base a bit on the economic and non-monetary value of our initiatives. It's super relevant also. I think another element that we can discuss in the afternoon, thanks to your speech, is the engagement of the policymakers in structuring this. So really, I think you gave us very good food for thoughts for continuing the discussion. And for the moment, I invite you, all of you, to a round of applause for Dr. Pau Alsina and for a coffee break outside.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming back. I'm just giving the word to Frédéric Monsieur from Beaux-Arts, our partner in the S+T+ARTS Prize, to moderate this roundtable. Just a quick disclaimer for all of you here and online. It's not gender balanced, unfortunately. We took care to have a more gender distribution, but unfortunately other female colleagues cannot attend the session. But anyway, guys, we are happy to have you here, so thank you. But we ensure that all the rest of the days is balanced. The organization also is full of female organizers, so don't be worried about this. And I wish you a good discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Simona. Dear all these speakers, it's a pleasure to be here today and have the honor of moderating this panel discussion about the challenges and opportunities for the creation of new regional centers. I'm Frédéric Mezer. I'm Senior Advisor at the Center for Fine Arts of Brussels in Beaux-Arts, Brussels. It's a pluridisciplinary art center, so we've been involved in S+T+ARTS since I think the beginning with the regional S+T+ARTS Center and the S+T+ARTS Prize mainly. So the S+T+ARTS value chain, as it was mentioned this morning, has been fantastic in the way it has been able to grow in the last few years to different ramifications involving multiple stakeholders, and in such a short time frame, that's quite exceptional. From the shadow work produced in all these residencies between artists, scientists, and other thinkers, and also to those public events like exhibitions. But I mean, there are many questions that can be raised today. Here are a few, just how have all these operators been able to interact together to the benefit not only of artists or scientists, but also of communities and audiences? So that's something that some of the speakers will be talking about now. And how can these local ecosystems improve in the future? And how can we trigger the role of public institutions, but maybe also of private ones? And that maybe raises also some ethical questions from the local, but also to EU level. And how to turn then also a top-down dynamic into a bottom-up one. I think that's a crucial question. So these are just one of the few questions that we could modestly address today. I think we're also reaching the end of a cycle for S+T+ARTS. So I guess today is a good moment to see what we would like to aim at for the future and reflect not only on the main issues and barriers, but also on best practice examples. And then that raises again the question of what makes a best practice example. Is it like it's quantitative economic impact, or is it a social or artistic impact? So I guess if we could maybe think about that today, that would be great. And also, I guess, the future of S+T+ARTS. At the end of the presentations, I'll be asking each of the speakers to let us know about their views on how STARTS could look like in the future, especially at EU level. So I would like to give now the floor to our 4 main panelists this morning. So we have Airan Berg, coordinator for the Johannes Kepler Universität in Austria of the START Center GRIN, which stands for Arts-Driven Innovation for Digital and Green Transition in European Regions. The project has just started, so it's running until 24. And after we'll have Christoph de Jaeger, director of Gluon and coordinator of STARTS in the city, still running also until 24. So we're really in this like intermediary phase where we'll be like also assessing the results obtained so far by those projects. We have Borut Jerman, president for PINA in Slovenia and partner of the regional START Center AIR, also still running. And Christian Rauch, who has the privilege of presenting us a project that has been finalized already. So founder and director of State Studio in Berlin and partner of Repairing the Present. But maybe let's start with Airan, who you don't have any visual presentation, which is absolutely fine.
Yeah, no, I usually only present images, and as the project is starting, there are no images yet, so we can listen. But I do start with an exercise, which hopefully exemplifies, because I'm a STARTS virgin. This is the first STARTS project we are doing. So I hope this exercise exemplifies what we are feeling and going through. So if you all participate, I would be very glad, because it doesn't work if not everybody participates. Also, those watching on the internet do. So the first thing I ask you is just to put everything you have in your hands, unless it's something to eat, away, and just use both hands and put them together like this, like you usually do. Okay, and now see how you feel, and just watch your hand, because in my case, I have my left thumb on top. So everybody who has their left thumb on top, please raise your left arm. And now just look around the room. Okay, now you know everybody that has their left thumb on top. Okay, thank you. And now everybody who had their right thumb on top, please raise your right arm. Okay, so this room is pretty scientific. Testing shows that about 2/3 of the world population have their left thumb on top, but there's no scientific reason to why that is so. And now, please do exactly the opposite. So I will put my right thumb on top. So. Feels a bit awkward, doesn't it? Yeah, yeah. Okay, good. Now shake it out a little bit, and then now comes the really hard part. Now fold your arms like this. And just have a look, where is your left hand, where is your right hand? And so you're comfortable. Okay, now try to do it the other way around. Okay, that's our project. This is we're till we figure this out. And there's no technology that can help you in solving this issue. Just practice, practice, practice. So I think this maybe what I'm trying to show with this exercise is that change happens when you start to leave your comfort zones. So I think for all of us in this GRIN project, we are also hopefully leaving our comfort zone so innovation can take place. Now, I'm a completely analog person. I've deleted everything I know about computers because they're not helpful. And what I'm interested in, or what we are all interested in, and I think the storytelling of this project is that this is all about unexpected alliances. So I'd like to add that to the keynote that was before about the different partners. For me, these unexpected alliances are what gives in to really create something new and exciting. So what brings together, so I am maybe the coordinator of this project, but my official title is Circus Director. Because I run a place called the Circus of Knowledge, not because I do this exercise, but because I run a theater that is called the Circus of Knowledge, which is only not even 2 years old. We've only been performing for 2 years, and we connect art and science and citizens. And because we are based in Linz, where there's Ars Electronica, I have the luxury that I can be Ars Analogica, but dealing with complex, also technological and scientific issues. And this theater was founded by the Johannes Kepler University that does not have an art department. So what brings together a university without any arts experience together with a small organization, ArtShare, in Portugal that connects on tech-focused research, together with Kilowatt, and maybe my two colleagues from Kilowatt would like to get up, Silvia and Nicoletta, and then Osmo from Finland behind. There's like a GRIN corner over there. They don't like to mingle with others yet. Just so that if you have some direct questions to them, that you know them. So Kilowatt is a cooperative working on social innovation, and they are connected in this application with Cinica, which is the largest Italian computing center, if I got it all right. And then we have the Ulo University of Applied Sciences, which also is now creating an art center for this kind of dialogue between art and science. And last but not least, our partner is in Porto, is Coliseo, and they're working together with our partners in Aveiro, which is an 80-year-old performing arts center that now also links more to these kind of projects. So GRIN, as you said, is about art-driven innovation for digital green transition, whatever that means. And we have 12 residencies, because the digital also needs a lot of resources. And most people never think how much resources just one Google search needs, and what live streaming needs, and what cryptocurrency needs, and all that energy is absolutely not green. I once read that just to cool off one server, big server thing in Iceland, I think it's a Google server thing, it needs as much energy as the whole city of London per year. And that's just the cooling, that's not the searching and the heat that it creates. So we are working on different aspects. So we have 12 residencies, as I said. And I think one of the challenges for us as JKU was that, first of all, we have the organizational challenges of a university, which can be quite complex. And then also, it seems to me that STARTS is very much geared towards installation and visual arts, and performing arts need sometimes different sets of tools and different resources, and that seems to be to make everything work within the STARTS complex. But I hope that GRIN with different performance topics will, for the next phase of STARTS, maybe rethink how we think what can be the results of STARTS, residencies. And so in Linz in Austria, we have 3 topics. One is connected more to the technological aspect and digitalization. It's made on hatred on the internet, which is also made with young people. So a lot of our projects are also participatory in nature. That was part of our GRIN approach. One project is on climate change itself, also where we work with young people in nature and connecting it to some technological tools that are around our university. There are many startups and departments. And the third one is about well-being of young people, which is in pretty bad state at the moment, what we are understanding. ArtShare is looking at, they had the residency focus was on drone technology for rural biodiversity. So that would fit the digitalization and green transitions. So they have two artists working there, cyber agrarian forecasts and drones technology for biodiversity. If you go on the webpage, you can see the names of all the artists. If I name 12 artists now, I don't think we will remember them when I finish speaking. So just to give you an aspect of the things we're doing, Kilowatt is here, and together with Cinica, they also have three residencies. One is called Destination Earth, the other one is Funk Eye, and Fragments of Ephemeral Echo is about coastal erosion. So again, you see the connection with the green issues. Ulu University is worked a lot. They have a big tradition of printing and printing technology. So they are working on things connected with a big print lab and themes that are connected to green themes. And in Porto, which their theme was augmented reality for contemporary theater. So again, we are connected with performing arts. So it'll be very interesting to see the different results that we get. So while some use technology as, I think we're all using technology as a tool, not not necessarily the topic of the research, but the artistic research is using technology as another layer or element in the narrative or the storytelling of the things we do. So yes, you can see that we are working also with technological tools, digitalization for things connected to green, but also see well-being of young people is also connected, I think, to a more green and natural environment. So I think we only have short time to present, so I'll just leave it there, and if there are any questions, me and my colleagues are happy to share other exercises with you if you want. Thank you.
Thank you, Airan. Maybe after the presentations, I'll be raising a few questions for each of the speakers, and after the panel, we can go through some common discussions with all of you. Maybe Christoph, you would like to give a presentation, please.
I have seen a presentation. I don't know how I manage this. Is it okay. Thank you. So, good morning, everybody. Thanks for inviting me to Cini Foundation and Ars Electronica. I'm Christoph. I'm the director of Gluon. So we are a platform for art, science, and tech in Brussels based, and we are supported by the Flemish community for our work. And we have two pillars in our organization. One is the organization of residencies for artists in the R&D of companies or labs of universities. And we also have a strong educational pillar, because in Brussels there is a huge shortage of teachers in the schools. So our coaches from our organization go into the secondary school, where they learn people working with new technologies, but also be critical about it, of course. We are the coordinator of Starts in the City project, together also with HACTE, who's part of the consortium. And the goal of this this consortium was to work with the innovation agencies in the cities and to see how artists can contribute to the transformation of the city in a good way. And cities have many different, have many challenges that are equal. This is mobility, this is health, this is inclusivity, and also the role digital technologies can play in that. And I found it interesting to work with an innovation agency. Instead of asking subventions, I asked them to be partner in the STARTS project, and they gladly accepted. And that's really interesting because together with the partners of the consortium, we co-defined the challenges that were interesting for Brussels. And it was even so that the research directors of the innovation agency, they are part in guiding the process with the artists. So we have many support from this agency in Brussels. The other partners are Kersnikova in Slovenia, MEET, this is the Cariplo Foundation in Milan. Ars Electronica will present the results next year, HACTE and Innova in Porto, who helped us also with the writing of the proposal. What are we going to do in our Starts in the City project? We are going to organize residencies. For a long time, we have been thinking within the STARTS ecosystem on the right methodologies to work with artists and to connect them with other players. And here you see this wheel. It's not obligatory for the partners to work with it. We only suggest it, but with Gluon it worked good. I will maybe very shortly give an introduction. So when we organize a residency, we always make a local expert group. Can also be an international expert group, in our case, a local expert group. And in this group, there are people from companies. This can be young people working in the R&D. This can be people from humanities, philosophy, ethics. It can be people from policy-making sectors. And together with them, we define the challenge that would require the input of an artist. Why do we need an artist? We also define per challenge what are the technologies we are going to work with. And at the European Commission, there's like a very interesting document. It's called the 100 Breakthrough Technologies. I think it was you, Christian, who told me that a long time ago. But we give this list of technologies to the local expert group so that they also know, these technologies are at hand and we could possibly work with it. Another tool, another starting point is the SDGs. We try to define the different SDGs around which we are going to work, Sustainable Development Goals. So this makes that the local expert groups make a challenge which is then launched with all the other consortium partners as an open call for artists. We think that it is very important that the artist, when he applies with a proposal, we don't make it too difficult. He or she has to show what works has been done in the past, what is the motivation, is there any expertise in collaborative practices that the artist had. So this is a very easy way to apply. And then the local expert group makes a selection of 3 people that are invited to come to the local expert group and to go in a discussion. We think that it's very important that the people that are responsible for the project learn to know the artist and that it's not just a bureaucratic thing like selecting an artist. Once the artist is selected, we go to the actual residency, and this is mostly not a permanent stay of an artist at our organization. It's more like a fellowship program, like it's being used in universities. And the local expert group and the artist meet each other 6 times over a period of 9 months. And during these meetings, that's really fantastic, the artist comes and visits the labs that are in Brussels, or maybe even sometimes outside Brussels, or the R&D of companies. The people from the local expert group, they visit the studio of an artist. I think this is really interesting to challenge hierarchies between people from different sectors. And it is between these meetings and discussions that they iterate on their project. Big question is always, what is the final outcome of such a residency program? From the beginning within STARTS, it has been something complicated. On the one hand, it can be an artistic output. This can be an artwork or a performance that uses technology or critically reflect on it. Sometimes it can be digital prototypes that lead to innovation, and the core word serendipity. Or it can be more intellectual output, which Pau is also researching in our project, What's in for the researchers. So it has never been clearly defined what exactly this outcome should be, and this gives us a lot of freedom. In any case, for Gluon, we try to make artworks that can be presented at different places. We also have, so the outcomes of STARTS in the City will be presented at Sonar Festival in Barcelona. It will be presented at Ars Electronica in 2024. And in Brussels, we have I Love Science Festival. Academy events, so within STARTS, it's a pillar that has never been developed strongly, and I think for the future of STARTS, this could really be done. Like, how can we also organize events for pupils, for students, for citizens? How do we involve them in our processes? I think this is something that has to be researched strongly in the future of STARTS. So this is STARTS in the City. I can maybe say something very shortly to give you an impression of the artists we work with. I did it for Gluon, unfortunately. Pau, maybe we can later also discuss your artists. So we had 4 residencies and 4 artists have been selected. Going Wild in the City was a project on urban wildlife. And we choose to, or the expert group chose to work with Adrian Luca. He's a young Brussels-based artist. And he made a lot of studies on colors in his artwork. And he started to work with LED systems. So when you look at flowers and you look at different wavelengths of LED, then the flowers get other colors. And he started to see that there are parallel worlds. So the insects, when they're pollinating, they see other colors than we see. And that brought him to the idea, how can I think differently about urban wildlife? And how could I make lighting systems that don't scare insects, but even attract them? So it's how can we as humans take care of non-human life in the city? And that is, of course, interesting because LED frequencies, we are talking about the digital, we are talking about design, we are talking, so companies were really interested. This was a first prototype that he was making, and that we will try to further develop with many other people. He also wants to work, of course, with biologists, so it will be a very multidisciplinary local expert group. A second project is with David Klaarboot. Sometimes we choose to work also with renowned artists, not always the younger generation, although we think it's very important, but sometimes with renowned artists, you get a little bit further towards visibility. And we were happy that David Klaarboot applied. It's Reclaiming Our Agency, and he's going to work around prompt engineering. It's an artist that has always been dealing with the history of the image. And when we look at prompt engineering today, you can create images without reality. You just have to input text and use this text as a form of code, and then a visual image comes out of it. But of course, for an artist, this is something strange, because these AI systems, they have no, they don't know anything about metaphors. And this language, purely images based on pure language, this is very strange. An artist never does that. He has an embodied way of dealing with his artworks. He discusses with other people. It's not just putting language, and he wants to create 3 poetic prompts and see what comes out of that in order to be critical. And I think it's really important in the time of generative AI, artists are losing the control over their own artwork, and this can lead to anxiety. So this is the whole project. We will work with students also on this, art students on this problematics. Where our food comes from, this was an international collective of artists. They are called the Future Farmers, and they proposed to work on sustainable food systems, and they're going to make connections with farmers around the city of Brussels, biofarms, and they are looking on how they can bring the food from the outside of Brussels towards the inner side of the city. And they are going to build a barge or a boat on which there will be lots of artistic performances to sensitize the public for what they are doing. But they're also going to work with low technologies. So they choose not to work with digital technologies. They said, as artists, we have the right not to use digital technologies. And they're going to look in other systems to make such a transport reasonable. For example, how can you work with solar panels? How can we find cooling systems that don't use electricity when we transport the fruit from outside Brussels to the inner city, and so on. It was everybody from the local expert group was really positive in having such a project, because it also has the capability to work with a lot of citizens of Brussels. And the last project is with a cancer institute in Brussels. It's around health. The value of care is the Jules Bordet Institute. Jules Bordet was a Nobel Prize winner in Belgium, and it's the biggest cancer institution we have in Brussels, in Belgium. And it was the general director of this institution that said that when people go to a cancer institution and they advise you negatively, that this is really has an impact on your life. You think, oh, I'm dead, it's finished with my life. Well, they look different at it, and they say that cancer is the less mortal chronic disease that there is in the world. So you can cure from this sickness. And they wanted to create something that gives hope to the people when they visit the hospital. And the artist, Brussels-based, also young, Roel Heremans, proposed to make a sculpture that would make a connection between the visitors of the hospital and the sculpture that is somehow intelligent. So it will work with data streams that come from the net, but also from biodata in one way or another that come from the people. I would not say patients, because that's really complicated. So that has to be found out during the residency, how this sculpture can show empathy for the people in that hospital. Thank you very much. This was Starts in the City.
Thank you, Christoph. And now we have Borut.
Thank you for having me here representing STARTS Air. We as well are STARTS Virgin, as was defined before. For PINA, it's an association from Koper. It's like 2 hours from here to Slovenia. We are really like in between the Italian and the Croatian border. And actually we are a part of 2 STARTS projects right now. One is STARTS Air and the second one is STARTS for Africa with Grown and Ars Electronica and Innova. So yes, we are trying to work with the STARTS approach in Africa as well. But STARTS Air, it's a project that, similar to STARTS in the City, explore the projects combining, of course, science, technology, arts. We kind of wanted to be concrete and then to work with something that you can hold in your hand. So we decided to work with air, that it's not concrete and you cannot hold it, but it's really like combining and really stitching together a lot of things, a lot of approaches, and a lot of living creatures and non-living creatures. And mainly our focus is working in the city. I would just shortly present what were our bases, because we actually finished the call for residencies 10 days ago. Last week we had in the partnership the first meeting for evaluating. We were really lucky to receive 120 applications for residency. Out of that we evaluated 94, and now we choose 20 proposals to go in the second round. And I mean, we pointed out 2 directions: resilient interspecies urban ecosystems, that we divided in 3 challenges. I mean, everything that you can see here, it's on our webpage, so I will not read it. And the second one is human AI ecosystem. And actually, we were quite happy because we receive a lot of interesting applications. And our concept is that we have 4 regional hubs in the project, one in Slovenia, one in Barcelona, one in Rome, and one in Stuttgart. Both of which are, 2 of which, Stuttgart and Barcelona, are connected with supercomputer centers, the 2 biggest one in Europe. So we really would like to work with projects that can benefit out of this power that the supercomputer center are offering. But we decided to combine the residencies. So each residency has 3 partners of the partnership, 2 technological partners, 2 hubs, and 1, let's say, protocol or systemic partner. So we will combine residencies so that each of the selected artists or groups will be somehow forced to work with 2 of the regional hubs throughout the 10-month residency and another partner. So we really want to make a strong network out of regional centers. And as I mentioned, those regional centers are different among each other, 2 being in contact with supercomputer powers. But for us, for Slovenia, for example, we have an immersive sound studio. So we really want to work with sound. And the 4th one is in Rome, in Italy, guided by Sony. They are computer science laboratories. And when we pointed out the basis for the residencies, we were kind of scared, because we felt that there's a huge possibility that the artist will not understand the concept, will not understand how they can combine different approaches, and they need to work with different realities, different hubs. But at the end, when the deadline was there, when we opened the table of the applicants, we see 126 applications. We said, wow, okay, but now we have a lot of work, and in the last 10 days we read a lot. We have internals, of course, and external evaluators. And on Friday, we have a Zoom meeting for 7 hours in order to finalize the first selection, the first draft of 20s. As I said, And now we have a 2-week period for matchmaking, to talk with those artists, because we asked just the concept note. We didn't want in-depth projects. Now we have to talk and figure out together with the appliance how to shape the projects in order to have, as was pointed out by Christoph as well, a concrete output. So some of the partners that are involved in the project have been already involved in STARTS projects before, and they all point out, yes, that sometimes there's no concrete outcome, and we want to have an internal environment in the project that has a force to overcome all these issues, all these worries that emerge from the beginning, and we have wonderful projects. I mean, we we are the newcomers, but for example, Info-Art, probably you know them. They kind of help to develop the methodology of the STARTS project that Christoph was showing before, and of course all the scientists involved, and we and the Fondazione Epica La Fuera del Baus kind of still are the one protecting the artistic point of view of the project. So our goal is to have, at the end, 10 residencies that will result in concrete projects that will target issues and challenges the scientific part of the partnership has. So this is, in short, what the project is about. A little bit about PINA. PINA is an NGO from Slovenia working in the field of new media art for years now, and we kind of grew from bottom up. So before we entered the STARTS environment, we opened our art and science laboratory, working with biomaterials from organic waste, working with immersive sound, working with education. And when we felt enough experienced, we said, okay, now it's time to enter the STARTS family. But of course, we entered when it's finishing. So hopefully we'll have chances to work again with such great partners. And then we met Christoph in the beginning and combined things together. But in Slovenia, it's interesting that the art and science, let's say, platform, it's mainly guided through organizations that exit from the civil society. So the public institutions and the companies are not so involved yet. Kersnikova was mentioned before, from STARTS in the City. They are like the pioneers in Slovenia. So we have a long road, a long path to walk, and hopefully STARTS Air will help to build this environment as well. So this is it from my point. Questions later. This is my contact. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Borut. It's great that START was able to focus on this theme, even if in such a short period. But thank you. We have a fifth speaker here, but it just fell in my class. It was a bee, so representing nature. I hope she's going to survive. No, shit. So we have Christian for repairing the present. So please.
Thanks. Waiting for the presentation to come up. Christoph remembers what we're talking about. Yes, my name is Christian Rauch. I'm the founder and director of State Studio in Berlin. We're an initiative working at the intersection of art, science, and technology for about the past 10 years, mainly working with research organizations and developing programs with and for them to work with artists on topics of societal change. So what I'm presenting and bringing to the discussion is our joint STARTS project that finished already, called STARTS Repairing the Present. It was a project running for 1.5 years, from July 21 until December 22, with 12 regional centers in 11 countries. So each regional center was represented by one cultural institution in the city. And yeah, our mission was rather comparable to any other STARTS project as well, to tap into the potential of artists, creatives, in addressing, regional challenges through like social challenges, economic challenges, environmental challenges, and acting as a catalyst, for change and explore the possibility for digital and art-driven transformations at the regional level. So, what was the outcome? We were organizing 21 residencies. Each residency had an artwork as an outcome, and we had 3 major exhibitions running at Maxi Museum in Rome, at Meet in Milan, and ZKM in Karlsruhe. And building on what Christoph just mentioned before about this expert ecosystem, we had about 130 local experts that we activated around Europe in those in connection to these projects, and about 20 plus academy events, meaning like education and citizen activation events. A really wonderful group of artists that we were able to win for the project, among them Olga Kiseleva, Johanna Schmeer, many of the artists you see there, Farah Peluso. It was a really, really fantastic group that we managed to attract through our open call. And I was planning to give you an overview of the STARTS kind of rough process, but Christoph, you mentioned that already in more detail and really in a great way. So I think I'll just give you, perhaps for a repetition, if you're kind of new to STARTS, perhaps also for the people listening online, just a very, very brief, high-level overview. So basically, the project was structured in 3 main kind of parts. Obviously, kind of being kind of a part to set up the project, running for about half a year. Then kind of the creation part, where the residency was running, and then the, let's say, dissemination part, where we were running the exhibitions and events. So I'm using more kind of general language, but it's been actually the process that Christoph showed before in his presentation. So in the setup phase was mainly about ecosystem building, getting the stakeholders together, running the open call, and finding the artists. In the creation part, we started with a kickoff workshop, and we had the residency itself with a research phase, and a lot of the times and prototyping, and for a lot of the things, we really tried to find also ways to feedback with the civic society and public in the specific regions. We did that through an academy event, at least one for each regional center, and then the final production of the artwork, which was then exhibited. So I thought what I'm bringing for this discussion is kind of 3 topics or 3 points from 3 reflections where I think it's really interesting to discuss, shed some light into it, share some best practice, but also kind of give food for thought for how we could, as a community, develop further on that topics. And the first one I'm bringing is kind of the residency process as itself. And there I'm bringing the thought of kind of the results-driven, meaning like kind of artwork prototype-driven process versus the kind of the experimentation. So what we did in STARTS Repairing the Present was running, a 6-month residency in principle, and we had a rather early focus on delivery for the exhibition. So about 3 months into the project, the exhibition, which was curated by Manuel Rauch, a really wonderful STARTS curator. So it was an amazing show that he managed to put together in those 3 major institutions. Manuel was coming into play then. So that was about the time where we realized as a consortium that for the artists, kind of the modes were shifting from, okay, we were experimenting, to, wow, I want to get into this institution. I want to accept it there. This is kind of my my time to shine also for, you know, in the arts world. So that was obviously something where, you know, the incentives were shifting quite much towards producing like a really high impact artwork in the end versus going deeper into the experimentation process. At least that's like an observation from my side that I think was shared by many of the partners. That's not kind of not one or the other is a bad thing or a good thing. It's what I think the positive aspect of doing it in the way that we did it was that we really managed to create a lot of really amazing and outstanding artworks in the process. On the other hand, it was really challenging to maintain this kind of sense of experimentation through the residency once the exhibition came in, because obviously the artwork, the artists were then much more incentivized to produce the artwork than to, you know, go deeper into exploring the regional challenges. So that's just something to think about, and I think especially if we're talking about regional transformations and regional challenges, there is a value for experimentation itself. So possibly that needs to be considered to give kind of more time for that and kind of you know, just play with that duality. The second topic that I'm bringing as food for discussion is kind of challenge-based approach or the challenge-driven approach in general. What we did was basically what any other STARTS projects did as well. Or more or less, we were working on 21 regional challenges. So for each artist residency, one challenge that was addressed. These challenges were kind of had to coincide and had to reflect the European Green Deal, aspects of the European Bauhaus, and a local focus. Obviously, that had to be also relevant for local partners and for the citizens. So it was quite a lot of things that we had to, you know, work into that. And remember in the consortium that it was quite challenging in the beginning to kind of bring all of these things together and make it relevant. So I just want to bring one strategy that how we did it, and I think it worked quite well. And it was deciding first on kind of corridors for challenges. So a corridor could be to do something with mobility or something with water. It's not a challenge yet. It's not relevant yet. Kind of, it's not specific yet. But it's enough to attract a partner ecosystem around it, bring experts to the table, kind of ask for companies, for partners that might be interested to address that. So it's not just random, it's enough to attract a partner ecosystem. And then through through the local expert workshops that Christoph, you mentioned before as well, were kind of our main tool for ecosystem building, we narrowed down those corridors to specific challenges. And really focusing on a high local relevance and also topics that would require kind of a public mind shift, where somehow our perception of what's possible and what can be done locally is really stuck. So I think, because personally I think that's really an area where art can really unleash its most transformative power, where we help us think differently. So that was something we tried to work out in this, in our workshops. And yeah, so the last topic is one that I'm also personally quite most excited about. It's kind of the local citizen engagement. I think when we're talking about systemic challenges and systemic transformations, that automatically implies that it has to be built on a very, very strong foundation of citizen engagement when we're trying to find answers. Because systemic challenges means we have to a lot of different perspectives, and we have to bring along a lot of different a lot of people in order to solve that. It's a kind of it's a bottom up process. So what we did was rather typical. We did those academy events, we had our press releases, and then we tested a couple of new kind of ways of what could be done, one of which was a new digital engagement tool that we played around with. I think as a reflection, it would be really, really powerful if we managed, as Christoph, you mentioned as well, if we managed to engage citizens much more earlier in the process and kind of think citizen engagement kind of really as a strong foundational pillar throughout the whole project journey. Like from the inception of the project through kind of the first workshops to kind of to iterating the artwork, like citizen engagement really has to be kind of the core foundation. That's my deep belief. And also one very practical aspect was the exhibition. We decided on very, very high impact exhibitions in major European cultural centers. And we gave up, for the sake of this, on the idea of local smaller exhibitions, kind of working locally with our partners. And that was just something that, you know, we had the high impact art world attention, but locally, you know, how to bring that conversation actually back to the partners and extend even to more people in the cities, that was just much more difficult because the exhibition is kind of a major tool to do that. So, you know, that's also something that can be thought about. Yeah, and of course, I guess there's plenty of opportunities to play around with kind of new processes, methods, and tools for achieving those citizen engagement. I think there's a lot that can be tested and experimented and should be done. Yeah, with that, I think I'm leaving my presentation and happy to discuss on these topics further. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. Very interesting. Maybe I could quickly come back to you with a first question before going to the other speakers, just to maybe jump on what you've been saying. Talking about citizens' participation, maybe could you elaborate a bit more on how you basically reach out those citizens, which type of citizens you rely on, like on local community-based organizations in order to be able to reach those communities, and which profiles of communities did the project try to address in particular?
So our main idea, our main strategy for the project was in kind of the setup of these local expert groups. And with the local expert groups, about 5 to 10 people perhaps per residency project, we really were aiming for a wide diversity and variety of stakeholders, also coming from civil society, so not only tech experts or kind of topical experts in the field of the regional challenge. So that was kind of our main approach. So we were, for example, including young people from Fridays for Future or other activist groups, and really tried the notion of including people that were actually affected by the topics that we're solving for. And a second strategy was in using kind of typical press outreach for dissemination purposes and get attention, public attention in the regions themselves. And as a third pillar, kind of the local academy events, meaning the educational events where we try to prototype with the citizens. So I think there was, we should think a little bit about the local expert, the role of this kind of local expert group. I think how we did it with a focus on individuals, inviting people there. It was great to get kind of their buy-in and activation, but it didn't necessarily always translate to kind of activating the institutions in the back, because they were not institutional partners. So I think if we really want to get an effective and easy way of access to the citizens in the particular region, we should have institutional partners that have a lot of reach. For example, educational institutions like schools, or I don't know, kind of university programs, or whatnot. Like institutions that by itself could bring a lot of kind of diverse participation and of citizens locally. So that, I think that would be a great thing to do additionally. And so we did also work with social media campaigns and this digital engagement tool that we set. So it's basically a crowdsourcing platform to ask people about their kind of hopes and expectations and fears about the challenge and really kind of feed that into the process. We did that for technical reasons rather late in the program, so at a point where we kind of asked for feedback on the artworks. So at that particular time, it was a little bit, we found it was perhaps not the most impactful and perfect time for a reach out. So really to do that at the project start would be great. There's new challenges coming with that, because then you have to be kind of prepared with everything already and reaching out to the citizens when you have not even started yet with the project. But I think that would be really, really powerful to really start with kind of an open call to the citizens of the region before starting the project. Yeah.
Thank you. And Airan would like to speak about this too. So
yeah. Just as a quick response, the residencies are, they're starting not all at the same time, because there are 6 months to, of course, come up with something we can show in a theater. But all of them are starting with workshops in schools. So when we're talking about hatred in the internet, in the artist collective, there is a Turkish-Austrian rapper duo, which is quite well known among young people, and they do workshops about the kids' experience with hatred in the internet. So some of the texts of the songs, that's another thing. I don't know why people don't like to sit in the middle and we have to stretch our necks left and right to reach them. So a lot of the text material will go into that. The project about climate change, of course, connection with Fridays for Future, and all these young organizations that are kind of rearranging themselves after COVID and try to find their energy, Scientists for Future, which we have on campus, and a lot of the startups that deal with these topics. The campuses are kind of unofficial expert board. And of course, well-being for young people will be a series of workshops with artists and some of the school psychologists, media psychologists who are on campus, again going to schools, and through that also building a base of an audience to then come and see the performances. So that's we are there doing that, but that's also the work of the circus, or my work as a personally. I've been working in thousands of schools all over the world to get material for the work, and in some cases participants are also part of a performance, and so there's another layer of interaction with the artists and the scientists. So we're working with artist scientists from the university and other stakeholders in our region for the 3 residencies that are at the Circus of Knowledge. And I know that some of our colleagues as well are very much into the participatory aspect, starting very early, if not even before the creation of the piece, in order to be able to create content with citizens, as they are the true experts of their lives.
Thank you, Airan. I'm thinking about the question, maybe a key question here is trust. I guess creating those kind of local networks of institutional partners requires a lot of trust building processes, and therefore also time, which is also maybe some key issue maybe for the STARTS Regional Centers initiatives in terms of how to give more time to those very short, reduced time frames, 2 years in general. And for Borut, maybe I have the similar question in terms of how does the project develop local partnerships with with public bodies, if that's something that's also on your radar, and maybe also key question: is there any intention also to go towards private interest or support to support the project?
Yeah, thank you. I would just add my thoughts on the previous debate. I mean, PINA, it's a, let's say, a horizontal institution. One of our main tasks is participation. So we are new in the art and science field, but we have a lot of track record in participation, development of methodologies and participatory processes. And I have to say that trust is everything. So, I mean, a lot of times we talk about participation, but we talk actually about how to inform people of the contents or how to engage people. But real participation, I mean, if we really want to do it participatory, we have to build up a relationship that is based on trust and it's time. And that's also is our approach in our regional hub. Unfortunately, the project starts here, it lasts just for 1.5 years, that it's nothing if you really want to do it seriously. But as I mentioned before, we started with our laboratory that it was open 2 years ago and will stay open hopefully for a long time. And we slowly start to build up community around that. And this is the main focus that we are focusing on. Projects are just a tool how to support that, but the community, how to build trust, it's another task that we are working on it. And of course, there are a lot of target groups of stakeholders involved, but citizens, it's really a large group and has different challenges and different problems. And one of our main question is, okay, we know how to tackle challenges or problems that people have that are aware of. But if we want to, I don't know, talk about how to change the economic paradigm or how to really live in a sustainable society, there are challenges that people, or the majority of people, don't want to be involved with or doesn't know that they need to be involved with. And this is one of the main challenges we are facing. And it's somehow similar, at least in Slovenia, with the art and science and technology field. So we are quite well based in our regional environment as a prominent NGO with a lot of projects. We have, for example, 17 full-time employees. That for Slovenia, this is really huge. But when we talk with public institutions, they say, okay, we can see what you are doing, but they don't really know how to think. I always say they don't know how, they don't have the instruments to think us, how to understand us. And the private sector, I mean, it's even worse from that point of view. So we are entering in collaboration through education. So we're working a lot with high school, with Technic High School, and support the pupils with project management skills, with soft skills. So we kind of work in hand with schools in order to help them where the official curricula lack of competencies. Because the educational system, of course, is rigid. I don't know in your countries, but we are still in the Balkans from that point of view. And we love the Balkans, but it's rigid. This is one approach. And the other approach, of course, having like the stamp of STARTS, it helps us. For example, we applied for a new project, Starts for Water, with Gluon, working with ports, and I'm saying that, okay, this is a START environment. It opened for us the door in the Koper port, that it's, okay, it's owned by the state, but it's still a company. And now we're discussing how they can support this initiative. And I'm working really hard to make them understand that it has a benefit for them as well. This approach that can somehow overjump the usual approach they are working with, like that it's more engineer or technological, that creativity, art, this art thinking approach can really open up some solutions, or at least can point out the focus on the problems from another point of view. And I think this is really, really, really delicate. And let's say our agenda is to work with big realities that are a few in our region, and then slowly step down with smaller companies in order to support them, because there's no real R&D sectors anymore after the 2008 economic crisis. And I think that kind of approach, mixing various approaches and point of view, can help also with the R&D.
Thank you very much. Maybe a last question for Christoph before another quick round of questions about your thoughts, considerations on the European future of STARTS. Christoph, ethics, I feel that this is also floating in the air when we see all the projects and the themes, healthcare, AI, sustainable development. How do you think ethics should be integrated perhaps better or in other ways in future STARTS initiatives? You mentioned the committee, the expert groups that you have, for instance, and do you have any views on this?
I'm very happy that you tipped me beforehand with this question, Fred. But ethics is, of course, a very interesting question. When you think about STARTS, it's there to have other forms of innovation in the industry. So this is the starting point of all the STARTS projects. And even the scientific officers within the commission, they have to convince their commissioner that this is a relevant project for the industry. Now, when we bring all those cultural partners together, we go more direction the arts, and we go more from innovation towards the notion of progress. Innovation is creating new applications, in my opinion, for the industry. Progress is how do the different players in a society move forward in a good direction. And technology can be positive and negative in many different ways. When you bring in such a local expert group, entrepreneurs and scientists and artists together, they have a different view on what is good and bad when it comes to technology. An entrepreneur, he wants to create a solution, an application, and that is profitable also. That is a good company. So that's mostly, they are very solutionistic in where they want to go to. Also very generous, mostly. We don't talk about company leaders only. It's also people working in the R&D of companies, young people that are really idealists and that want to connect with artists and other scientists and so on. So it's not black and white, but mostly industry is going towards solutions. Scientists, they have again another view. When you think, for example, on genetic manipulation, those scientists say that they want more liberty and less rules, especially in Europe. Big institutions such as the Flemish Institute for Biotechnology, they lose all their researchers because in Europe they have not the same liberty as they have in China or in the States. So they want, apart from ethics, the liberty to experiment, and they mostly think it will be the other ones who will develop ethical frameworks. And then the artists, of course, it's not that they get up in the morning with the thought, I'm going to be critical today. But mostly when you see artists, I think it's necessary in the world that you have players that can also be critical towards technological developments. And I think that is the best role artists play. Although I know that they create artworks that make creative use of digital technologies. But I think this criticality is something that is very important. But before an artist can have an ethical opinion, he should or she should be well informed about what is happening. And this is what STARTS brings. You connect people and you give artists more well-informed views on different developments so that they have other forms of criticism that are deeper than before. And I think this is the ethical part of STARTS. It's in this local expert group, bring the right people together and also not to be solutionistic. I find one of the most beautiful examples of STARTS is Anatomy of an AI System. It was made by Crawford and Vladan Joler, who's a philosopher. It was presented in the MoMA, and it showed what resources are needed to create an ecosystem from Amazon. The exploitation of children, transport, what you do with the waste materials after you don't use the ecosystem anymore. When people see that, you really think, do we really need that technology? And that was also a STARTS project. So there is liberty for ethical and critical reflection, in my opinion, within STARTS.
Thank you, Christoph. And I'm very sorry, we'll quickly jump to the policy question. What would you like from the EU for the future of art, science, and technologies interactions in the future? Airan.
Well, one thing I noticed in the applications, before I do that, at least we have other liberties in China that people there don't have. So I think there's a good balance there. So if somebody wants to go to China, be my guest. what I noticed in the applications for us being, as I've mentioned that before, being a performance art space, is that many of the applications were already STARTS experienced artists, and that the family of STARTS was quite limited, and some applied not really reading the sentence that we're looking for performance, something that will end up as a performance. And so I think, hoping that now that we have performance art spaces more and more growing in this family, that it will open up also to different kind of artists. So this would be an important, how do we make it, the interdisciplinarity of it even stronger. I also believe that, you know, I've noticed in my work, because I'm working now in an environment of scientists where I never thought that I would, because I really come from the arts part of STARTS, is that the difference between artists and scientists is not as big as we think. Because, I mean, I think scientists can be critical too in their thinking, but I think we all start with a kind of hypothesis, and then we research it, so we can call it artistic research, connected to the scientific research, and we'd like to have a result that is positive, that is strong, so that is artistically powerful and connected to the content. So I believe that our process is a lot more similar than it is, and it's just a matter of how open-minded the scientists are that we find, and how open-minded the artists are that we find, and if they can find a common language. So I think this really should continue, and thank you for that whole thing about innovation and the idea of the prototypes that need to come out. So maybe we also, as people who come more from the arts, can look at kind of artistic prototypes, so that can come out. And in our case, we're working with startups that are working at prototypes, but we just use them in the, so it's not about the prototype, it's about how can we also use things scientists do in order to tell our stories. But from a policy perspective, I think this is really important to continue, and that the participatory element and the involvement of citizens, even those who are not science, technology, or arts oriented, becomes an important aspect, the inclusive aspect of that. And I believe arts and science are there to make our lives better. So if we accept those that are used then to create weapons or something, but usually I think scientists I've met are researching because they want to make our lives better, be it in a technology, with medication, whatever, an environment. So if that kind of goes into the policy and how we involve our citizens stronger, I think that would be a very powerful next stage for START, so it doesn't get stuck in the expertise, only expertise part.
Fair enough, thank you. Borut, on the EU and how it could support future art, science, technology interactions through STARTS or other initiatives, do you have any thoughts to share on this?
I mean, a general one, that it's really important for us, that we as a society, I think that we don't, I mean, we have a lot of issues with technology, but we have a lot of more issues with our society and how to continue as a humankind. So I think that we should open, the STARTS environment framework should open a little bit more towards social innovation and the usage of technology as a tool for reflecting not just how we will survive as a humankind, but also how technology affects our society. And I think that is always space to improve in that focus.
Thank you. Christoph, would you like to?
Yeah, I think yes, it's working. What is one of the most important kind of characteristics or functions of the STARTS ecosystem for also regional innovation and transformation projects is that they open up this kind of room for experimentation, bringing different actors together, because experimenting is expensive and it's difficult, but it's very, very necessary. Especially, you know, there's in kind of systems or management theory, there's like the idea that if you're in a complex or or a chaotic system, it's not the moment to kind of invest in research and try to understand the system, because the system is crazy. You know, you can't understand it. So you have to probe, you have to experiment, you have to prototype and see, you know, does it move you in a better direction or rather in a worse direction? If it moves you in a better direction, give more energy to it. If it's in a worse direction, take away the energy. And so I think that kind of thinking is very, very powerful when thinking about kind of starts and these kind of programs, because that's not initially something, these types of experimentation, that can convince companies to invest money into it, because the cost to experiment is high. But it's very, very valuable. So I think creating kind of these rooms, and that means also creating ways to engage very deeply with citizens, because that's the only way through citizen engagement to find out whether something works or not. Because in the end, you have to, these solutions are social transformations, so they have to resonate with the citizens. So room for experimentation with deep-rooted citizen participation and kind of new ways for that, I think would be really fantastic. And me personally, when I'm, there's been a lot of great work being done in Barcelona on kind of digital transformation along, you know, with the names of Francesca Bria and all, where they tried really new digital participation methods like in the city to ask people what they really want. I think that kind of thinking could also be really transformative and powerful when applying it also kind of to not so deeply localized kind of problems as restructuring a park infrastructure, but more kind of through our lens of STARTS project. So I think there's something to it.
Christoph, would you have a final say on this?
Too so much to add, but I think with 12 years of STARTS, and with a lot of best practices that we can find on the site of Ars Electronica. So each year, all the prizes and all the projects are well documented. I think this is a fantastic database to convince people from the Commission, but also the regional authorities of the outcomes that this results in. And I hope that STARTS will also have an anchor in new Bauhaus movement that is coming up, that they will learn from us and don't make the same mistakes, or in the KIC culture. So these are two other big European initiatives that can really learn from STARTS, and let's hope that they also take care of artists in their future programs. So.
Thank you. I think we just, oh no, we are late. So I'll try to be very quick to sum up this, and so we can give the floor to the discussion. So, but thank you. It was very, I think, interesting and helpful to help us see better what's at stake and what are the current trends and what's currently being done also. Let's see within by 24 how it will evolve. Maybe I have some views and maybe also ideas to sum up the panel discussion, and maybe also give some food for thought for this afternoon discussion, so where I guess also policy support will still be discussed. So obviously we have, so what was great also is to see that there is usually a great interest from the arts and science communities. You mentioned 126 applications that were submitted to AIR. From the artist side, so that shows that there is an interest from artists. So I think it's quite crucial. And obviously, maybe for the future of START, maybe one important thing would be to wonder not only what START can do at the end of the day for not only for artists and scientists and ICT professionals, but also for audiences and communities, as you raised it various times. Well, we have AI maybe as a new elephant in the room also. Let's see also how it evolves. We know that we need to also to assess what's at stake for the artists in this kind of new relation. How to position AI within future STARTS projects or not. And of course, this raises also various ethical questions and how to maybe to position ethics in STARTS. Well, trust and time, these are important keywords for us, also for experimentation. The duration of the STARTS project, maybe that's also something that needs to be taken more into account. For policy support, I guess there is also always this question of what's the best institutional level where art, science, and technology interactions can be best supported, from the EU at the top to the local authorities, regional innovation centers, etc. And how can you then promote this agenda at those policy levels and within which different competencies? I don't remember who mentioned it, but is it to culture, or is it with the healthcare, the health minister, or education or innovation? So that's still to be seen. So the formats, you also mentioned the formats, giving time and space for residencies, for experimentations. I guess time and space also for communication, awareness raising, and creating this trust with local operators, including, especially if you want to work with young people, that means also working with schools. In Belgium, most schools usually school teachers usually don't have time or resources to get involved in that. So as you say, it often relies on individuals who are motivated to do that. Yeah, and then in terms of, we didn't mention it today, I feel, but starting from STARTS, maybe how can we maybe imagine new types of support schemes, either at EU, national or local level, either through direct or indirect support measures. I mean, we often think about direct measures, grants, seed money, etc. Shall we also maybe investigate a bit what can be done in the field of indirect fiscal schemes, for instance, like tax shelters measures? And maybe it's something for this afternoon, or I don't know when, but maybe it might be worth addressing that at one point. And then, yeah, at EU level, well, that's also for this afternoon, but what can we expect from the EU in the future? I noticed that actually the work plan for culture of the EU for 23-26 does not pay too much attention to art, science, and technologies, or not at all, I think. So, I mean, also, again, that was also part of the question, what could be our dream towards the EU in terms of both continuing STARTS-driven initiatives, but also in terms of concrete regulatory framework? Is it like, could we try to dream about a communication from the Commission on that, or a resolution from the Parliament? I mean, those kind of things could be maybe seen as a side advocacy activity for the community. And yeah, I think we've been through the discussion. Shall we maybe open the panel to the audience?
Thank you. I'm sorry for the practicality of my question, but I need something more specific for me to understand. I think that Dr. Berg talked about the usage of information technology in art through augmented reality. Okay, you talk. Okay, just brief. Then
I mentioned maybe one partner, but they're not here, who are doing things connected to augmented reality in contemporary theater.
Yes, it's okay.
From Porto.
And that's an example. And then Dr. Jerman, that talked about supercomputing for the sound artists to compose their music, I guess, more or less. But then from Dr. Jaeger and Rauch, I need some examples of the usage that artists could make of information technology in their art production, because I honestly I didn't get. You specifically, Dr. Jaeger, talked about using medical data sets by artists, maybe? I haven't understood, sorry. So I need these two examples from both of you. Thank you.
Okay, I can do fast. It's a quick one. Yeah, we had, for example, one residency project from our two kind of regional challenges we were running as an institution in Berlin, State Studio, around kind of reimagining mobility in Berlin, and that was done through a virtual reality kind of immersive artwork. So we, in that process, citizens were asked for their kind of visions of Berlin in the future, in the year 2037. It's a kind of anniversary year for Berlin. And so we explored and worked with, the artists explored and worked with kind of the local expert ecosystem around particular kind of perspectives on that topic, kind of framing also the citizen views and turning that into a narrative. And that was then translated into a virtual reality artwork where you could cycle with kind of a cycle through kind of a future Berlin, being guided by a wonderful kind of actress, and showing her kind of showing you around through her kind of future Berlin. So that was very, very much kind of digital technology first as an immersive experience, but kind of building on answering to the regional challenge of kind of breaking this wall of perception of that mobility in Berlin has to be painful and has to be, you know, dirty and messy and loud, and kind of trying to show that different is possible through the use of digital technologies.
Yes, from my side, sorry, it was maybe not too directed towards the digital, but for example, David Klaarboot works with Proximus. It's a telecom company in Belgium, and he works with ADA, and this is the research team of AI. So they will assist him through the process and maybe show all the opportunities technologically that they have within this research unit. The project in the hospital is with IMEC, and IMEC is a public-private research institution over Flanders and Brussels. They are connected to all the different universities, and they will help the artists on how you deal with data streams and how you can make this reflected into this installation that he's trying to make. And also more particular in EEG, so in the connection of electrical currents in brains to get material out of that of patients or visitors in the hospital. So there it's also backed up digitally. Adrian Luca, I'm not so sure yet. He works with LED technologies. I think there will be digital aspects in the project he made, but there we are indeed not yet so specific. And now I miss one project. I tried to convince that we really take care that ICT research. And the Future Farmers, the boat, they will create an online platform, and they would like to go into crowdfunding of other means to engage the people that they have to buy the food that comes from outside Brussels, and that is bio food. And how can we, through digital technologies and connected to a performance, bring a large crowd to our project?
Yes, hi. My name is Osmo Hakosalo. I'm from the very top part of the Europe, about 100 kilometers from the Arctic Circle. And this is a short presentation of us. We are Center of Arts Innovations from Oulu University. It's kind of the base funding is from the university itself, and the rest is from the different kind of projects like STARTS and GRIN. And we are really looking forward in working together with STARTS, and we believe that we could be maybe the first Nordic country regional center of STARTS. There's a lot of kind of very specific and very special characteristics in the northern countries, like we live in very sparsely populated area, which is very well digitally connected with optic fiber. So it's a very nice laboratory for different kind of arts and tech innovations, and how to, for example, bring arts to to people who cannot come to the cities to see it. We also are in the very hot spot of climate change, since we are living in the Arctic and subarctic region. We would also be able to provide a lot of interesting data from climate change, or from aurora borealis, or from geomagnetic data sets. So what we are basically offering is that we would really like to be a part of STARTS as a hub or as a center, but we really don't know how that works at the moment. How do we become a STARTS center? There's not much activity in the Scandinavian and Nordic countries yet, but we believe that we could be a big contributor in the STARTS program in the future. And also our city of Oulu is, we are going to be the cultural capital of Europe in 26. So there's also a big effort, also financial effort towards culture. And Oulu, as a old Nokia city, we are very strong already in technology, and now we are going more and more deeply into arts and combining arts and technology. So the question basically is that, what do we do next? Thanks.
Then I go, there's no answer. Yeah, I wanted to raise another point, which I don't know, maybe we'll discuss this afternoon, but just to ask about impact measures and impact evaluation. I'm from Kilowatt. We are part of this GRIN project. We are a very hybrid organization. We work with art and culture, but also with education, with public administration, with companies, with like very different stakeholders. And art and culture is like a red thread that we consider a very powerful tool to generate transformation. We work very much with ecology and with the climate crisis, and that's why we are in this GRIN project and our residencies, which are actually our first so long residencies. These 6-month residencies, the first time for us that we will host artists for such a long time, working on such an important issue as climate crisis. So we want to use this residency to try to test like a bottom-up approach to measure impact. So not like with top-down evaluation, trying to standardize processes, but actually working with the artists to try to understand what is the transformation that they want to achieve. And so starting from them, trying to build with them like measures, KPIs, but also qualitative instrument to try to observe the transformation that their activity is able to achieve, probably in the medium run also, the medium term, not only like with the exhibition. So we will try to build this process in this 6 months, and I was wondering if in the previous project you have been dealing with this aspect, or you have been, I mean, thinking about this, because, I mean, coming from an economical background, I've been measuring impacts of many things. And when I think about measuring impact in art, the risk of making art instrumental for something else is very high. So, I mean, we've been thinking about impact measure in art for like many years now. And so I was wondering if within the STARTS family, there are experiences in this field.
Like if I may, I think there is maybe something that in terms of processes, because here most of the STARTS, the regional center approaches are mainly driven on the basis of ending up with a public event, being an exhibition, or so it's just an open question also to my colleagues. I'm just wondering to what extent this objective per se might be already defining maybe the impact that the project that's being researched is going to have. Maybe it's going to have less of a social impact in an urban territory, for instance, because the initial focus will have had to be to develop an artistic intervention in a museum setting.
So, having done many, I mean, like I said, I'm a STARTS virgin, but having done many large-scale participatory projects, for those we develop tools for participatory evaluations so that the participants can study. But often I learn, I mean, I'm not the expert in these fields, but often we do evaluation too late. We start when we're in the middle of the project. Actually, the evaluation has to start before you start the project. Otherwise, you don't have the status quo. So we now started a series of projects at the circus, not connected to GRIN directly, where we did evaluation of the people we were working with. And now over a 3-year period, we have evaluations at different states, and then there will be one at the end. Because then you can see transformation. But if you just do an evaluation at the end of a project, you can't see the transformation because you don't have it's all a subjective transformation, not an objective one. So if we don't start before the residency starts, it's, the train has left the station. It's, we can get nice numbers, maybe quantitative things and how much we did, but the real evaluation has to start before the project. I will look on this side too, not at them, because they're very kind people sitting over there.
I would like to just encourage you to go further on that, because I think it's a very important aspect. I think it's also a highly kind of controversial one, the impact measurement. My personal perception is, yes, like if you do, there have to be spaces for just freedom of artists to create and operate, and that's very also instrumental to kind of our democracy in society, and that has to be funded, and like structures have to be there for that. Absolutely. But what I feel that we're rather in with kind of the STARTS ecosystem is more like it's an impact-driven, like they're a mission-driven environment. It's kind of like art for action. It's also not pure art. It's kind of like something in between where, these projects have an artistic nature, but they're also, transformative societally. Sometimes they go more into kind of technological prototypes. So it's kind of messy, and it's not kind of free arts anymore. And I feel when we set out to kind of answer societal challenges, then we have to also be able to answer how much were we able to move in that direction. And I think it's a great way to just start measuring, or like start approaching that by setting your own standards, where every project and every artist and every initiative might want to focus on different things, and then working on a set of KPIs of how you could actually track that qualitatively or quantitatively, but just like the moving in that direction already and being brave kind of to enough to answer that. I think that's fantastic, and I think there needs to be more of that, because otherwise we're falling a bit short on our promise. And what we did at State Studio in Berlin personally is we developed a tool for kind of tracking and measuring perception change through this project. So we kind of asking, like an evaluation where we're asking before, and we can ask afterwards the project of kind of perception of the people around a particular, around the topic of the artwork. But anyway, that's just our personal approach. But +1 for the importance of that.
Maybe on this impact, there was a lot of discussion already before, and one of the main things is how many ICT researchers are working together with how many artists. Also, how many companies and research institutions are taking part in the consortia, and how much funding are they willing to contribute? These are really economical questions, because in each European consortium for all the residencies, there is I think now it's a 50% complementary funding that's requested.
40.
Oh, 40, yeah. So that is quite a lot from an investment, quite a lot for companies, but at least they make an investment. And that was one of the impact criteria, apart from then the outcome when an artist makes some things, which is more like Creative Europe sometimes, I think, and not Horizon, but...
And just to complement on this, also the STARTS Prize project we are working on it. We are establishing a methodological framework to assess our social, economic, technological, and environmental impact. We started, when the project started, to define a methodology, and then we are adapting it because it really depends on the artist. So we are doing a work which is tailor-made for each of the projects supported by the prize. And there is also an issue on how to tackle the economic aspects, because it's really, I totally agree, it's very mission-oriented. So it's much easier to at least map the social impact rather than the economic value, because in some of the case there is, it's not in the final aim of the artists or the researchers engaged. So the methodology also should be quite flexible to follow what really they want to achieve. But happy to talk about it later. Very quick, because I think we have another things to do, and then we have to run for lunch.
Yeah, just a continuation to the first question, that how would we do that? Is there, we are also STARTS Virgin. This is the first project and first time when we are kind of thinking about this STARTS Regional Center. But is there some sort of organization structure within STARTS which has like certain regional centers and they have some program, or is, how does this work?
It's the open calls that are launched via the European sites, and there are different sorts of calls. You have lighthouses, you have regional start centers, and you have pilot projects. So they are published, and then the consortium are being made, just like in Creative Europe.